Welcome to Landlord Diaries, where we talk about midterm rentals and the opportunities behind them. We'll share landlord stories, talk about maximizing investment potential, and discuss how to live the very best landlord life. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Furnished Finder, the place for everything midterm rentals. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content.
It's your host, Kelly Bailey, and my wonderful marketing director, Katie Lyon. Rawr. How are you, Katie?
Rawr. I'm so good. How are you?
Good. We're going to do this intro a little different because I need you to say goodbye to this background.
You're leaving. Leaving
on
a jet plane.
On a jet plane. So for all those fun midterm landlords out there that also have the travel bug and want to rent on Furnished Finder as much as they want to list on Furnished Finder, my husband and I have decided. We bought these skiing tickets, so we're gonna go spend probably just a month somewhere in a ski town and record from there. So we'll have some fun backgrounds along the way, but that is to come. Y'all also might not know, I stand every time. I'm not sitting, I'm standing. So for those of you that are looking to get a little more motion in your life and burn off those calories, I encourage you, try a stand-up desk. And I just makeshift my own. I actually have my chair on top of my desk is where my laptop sits. So if you saw my office, you'd be like, this is a nightmare, but it works because you can make your own stand-up desk from anywhere.
Kelly, I'm so impressed that you and your husband just, say we want to travel, so we're going to take our personal stuff out of the house, leave it furnished, and you've got it rented so quick, and off you go. That's amazing. I think my husband and I would do similar if we didn't have two kids, the cat, the dog, and the hedgehog. But alas, we're settled for a while, and we'll be taking 7-day trips. Nice. But today we get to talk to Tammy, and Tammy was a light. And Tammy is the picturesque story of real estate newbie all the way up to she's doing syndications and working with private equity, and she is managing 100 she had 100
doors.
Minutes? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's insane. Like, she is unstoppable, and anytime she reaches a new challenge, instead of getting defeated or down, she just figures it out and on to the next. So I'm really looking forward to everyone hearing this one and getting the feedback. So please, everyone, enjoy listening to Tammy Richey. And also don't forget that this episode and every episode is powered by Furnished Finder. You all know us. We are the online housing marketplace for 30-day plus furnished rentals. So we are the midterm market. Anytime you need to find a property or list your property, furnishedfinder.com, and we have no booking fees. So save yourself a little money there.
Hi everybody, today's episode is set in Ohio with Tammy Richey. Tammy is the visionary and CEO of Lucid Management, and Tammy went from flipping homes full-time with her husband about 6 years ago to now managing 100 doors, and around 20 of those are midterm, 36 of which Tammy owns, and 64 under a real estate syndication. Tammy has a heart for giving back and is working towards funding a philanthropic arm of the company to help those in need. And Tammy, if someone wants to reach out to you because they just love what you have to offer so much and enjoy your episode, how would you like them to connect with you?
Yeah, they can reach me at Tammy at Investing with Passion. That's my handle on all social. And then you can always email me, Tammy, Tammy, at investingwithpassion.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. We'll go ahead and jump into the first question. And I know that we had a previous conversation that was so fun that I want to dive into, which is, how did you end up in real estate anyways?
Yeah, I know. It's kind of a crazy story because I never really intended to be in real estate. But several years ago, we had a house in Phoenix, and it was 2008. So you can imagine what happened to that house. It was worth about half of what we needed it to be worth. And my husband lost his job and got relocated to Ohio. So we went from Phoenix to Ohio in 2008 and became unintentional landlords. We, couldn't sell the house, so we rented it out. We'd always loved real estate, like going and looking at model homes on the weekend is like what we drag our kids to do when they were younger, that was always a big thing. But we, sold the house in 2015, broke even, that was fine. But then my husband was laid off again. I swear, he's an amazing guy. It's just, companies on companies, last man on, first man off kind of thing. But he was laid off again. And I said, hey, why don't you kind of like take a pause? Like, why don't you pray this out a little bit? Like, see what it is that you want to do. Like, what do you feel passionate about? And so he took a little time. He goes, I think I want to flip a house. And I went, okay, let's do it. So we got into fix and flip, and we went to the sheriff's auction, and we practiced at sheriff's auction, like you would, practice stock trading and see how it did. We would practice we'd write down the addresses and see what happened to them. And decided to finally pull the trigger, pooled some private funds from a few different people to buy the house, flipped it, made a good little chunk, and went, we should do that again. And so we just kept doing it and doing it. And we did all the work ourselves, very DIY. Like, he would do plumbing, electrical. We would share framing duties and carpentry duties. I did all the finish work. Like, I was always covered in drywall dust, like head to toe, like just always. Or like, had tile, because I did all the tiling. So I would always have tile, like, stuff all over me. It's just, really a lot of fun, but a lot of work. And I was like, oh, we are not getting any younger. I can't swing this hammer for the rest of my life. So what's our big fat plan? So I decided what we should do is flip until we could get enough money to get some buy and hold. So at the end of 2019, I went on kind of like a little buying spree and bought up 10 properties, some single family and duplexes. And again, with private money and a relationship with a local bank, we kind of got those going. And then I went, okay, what do we do next? And I thought, I want to go big, real fast. Let's do that. And so started syndicating deals. And I actually have a 57 unit under contract right now that we're closing on at the beginning of December. So we'll be adding another 57 units to our door count, which is kind of fun.
Congrats.
And that's that. Here we are.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, really. That's a lot of growth. So you mentioned you acquired 10 properties in 3 months. So what did those private money, what did it look like working with the bank and the private money lenders on that? And, what was what was the rate that you borrowed the money at, and how did that work?
Yeah, so I had a very awesome, my private money lender was our mentor, and he was just fantastic. He owned 20 condos at the time, and my husband, did maintenance for him on the side for his condos. And so he mentored us up through this, and he said, listen, I want to take out all the other little private money people you have. We'd gather up 10,000 from this person, 20 from this, not everybody has $100,000 to lend you, right? So we gave everybody an opportunity to share in that. We were paying them all 10% at the time. And he said, how about I come in and be your investor? And I'll if you just keep the money out, just here's, I think at the time it was $200,000. He said, you keep $200,000 out, pay me 6%. I'll give an intro to this community bank that I've worked with before, and we'll get them to do a portfolio loan. So he said, you can't replace your fix and flip income on one rental. You need several rentals. So I said, okay, scary, but let's do it. So we went to the private bank. They gave us 3 portfolio loans. And so they took all the properties and put them together and gave us 3 loans. I think at the time, this was at end of 19. I want to say our rate was somewhere in the 4s. I don't have that loan anymore, so I don't remember quite. And then his money sort of stayed off the books. It was already seasoned in our account. So what they don't know doesn't need to be explained, maybe.
This is going public.
I know, they didn't ask, so we didn't have to tell. They said,
There you
where's
go.
the funds coming from? I said, my bank account. They looked in the bank account over the last 6 months and saw the money was in there.
Okay. Great.
Done,
right? No harm, no foul,
Good.
And so that's how that relationship worked, and having that intro and the personal connections, leveraging his personal connections and his funds are really what got us going. And then the intention was always to get the money back out, get the money back out of that, and be able to either scale or give him his funds back. And so in 21, in middle of 21, we BRRRRed all these properties. So if you're not familiar with BRRRR, and I actually have, look at this book right here is the BRRRR book, this white one right here.
Okay.
Literally the BRRRR book. Buy, rehab, rent. Wait, now I'm messing up. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So we bought the houses, we rehabbed them slightly, we rented them out so that we had a good rent roll and everything was up at market value. And then we refinanced the properties, and then we repeated and bought some more so that we could pull.
And the point of, I want you to focus, tell all of our listeners about the refinance part, because I know in the BRRRR, that's a very, very important part. And that's where you get to take your value and roll it. So I'd love to hear you explain that a little bit more, just for anyone who's not familiar with that whole strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is that when you refinance, really the goal is to have very little of your own money left in that property. So we had our investors' money in the property that we wanted to get out, and we had some rehab costs that we had fronted to get the house or the duplex or whatever it was up to our standards and get it at that high market value. So we tried to, now I do this much better than I did it that first round. That first round, I bought what I thought could cash flow, and my underwriting was much different than it is today. Today, you want to buy it 70% of your after repair value, so that when you rehab it out, you've got that money to take back out, because that's the goal. When you refinance it, you're trying to leave as little of your own money in the deal as possible.
Okay.
So we were able to do that. We refinanced when the rates were good. I think most of our rates are in the mid threes, high threes, mid to high threes. We have a couple that are in low fours. But reducing the rate and having a longer amortization schedule, because originally we had 20-year loans, 20-year ammo schedules with that community bank. We extended it to 30 years and then had a lower interest rate. And with the value we had created in the properties, it allowed us to take the money back out and leave very little money, if anything at all. And in fact, 2 of the properties, because we had bought them so low at sheriff's auction and did the rehab ourselves, we actually got paid at the closing table at the refi. So we not only paid everybody back, but we got a nice little chunk of extra money on top of it. So
very cool.
Yeah.
And in 2021 is also when you changed your strategy, I think, a little bit, and went from 10 to 100 doors, right?
Yeah. So we went from 10 to 100. So I decided in September, I went to a mastermind. And I just, it's a game changer. Surrounding yourself with people who are like-minded, who have that bigger thought process, that higher level thinking, that push you, is just really, finding your tribe is a game changer, right? So I attended a mastermind in September, noodled on that a little bit and went, yeah, I need to go bigger. I learned the word syndication at that mastermind. I should do that. That's what I need to do. I need to go from 2 units to, at a time, duplexes, to something bigger, because that seems like a fun next challenge. And so I did. So between January and May, the end of May, so we'll say it's 6 months of 2020, I went from 10 units to 100. So yeah,
great.
It was amazing.
And why is that part of your goal? I think in a previous conversation you said your lean FI has a lot to do with it.
really did,
potentially?
yeah. So part of my thing was, I've got several goals. My big goal, my big, hairy, audacious goal is to create a philanthropic arm of our company. So we can talk about how syndication plays a part in that. My goal right under that was retiring my husband. He had worked a lot of years at a lot of jobs he hated, and given everything he, needed to and could, laid it all out for the whole family. And I wanted to go, hey, oh no, see, that's gonna make me cry. I get all I'm sorry. I get I get very emotional when I think about all that. But I wanted to give him the gift of early retirement. And so part of that, the reason for that is, we wanted to travel when we're young and do things when we're young. And so I decided I can't just retire him. I need to be retired too, which means we need to hit our lean FI. And a lean FI is our passive income covers our budget, our lifestyle.
Okay.
Right? So it's our four walls. So our mortgage, our, utility payments, whatever. Plus what we spend on the kids at Christmas, if we take a trip every year, the cost to go to my mastermind every year, what are all of those costs? We added them all up and I said, I need to cover all of these expenses with passive income so that both of us are really technically retired. If I did nothing else the rest of my life, we'd be just fine, but that's not in my nature, So I said, I'd like this to happen sooner rather than later. It was kind of like when our mentor gave us that advice that said, you can't replace your income with one rental. You can't just give up flipping with one. You're going to need to kind of go a little bit bigger, a little faster if you want to rip the Band-Aid off. And so I said, okay, I'm going to rip this Band-Aid off too. But this was like a big fat bandage across our whole body, right? It's
right.
This isn't I got a scrape on my knee. So, I made that goal. I set that goal. I figured out what our lean FI was. And I know we talked a little bit before about a fat FI, what's the next step? I think my next step is that fat FI, if everything went wrong, I'm good. I can travel extensively and fly first class. It's not just a camping trip or one weekend getaway, right? I can go to Europe for a month and my businesses would continue to run and everything would be fine. That's my fat FI. That's what I'm working towards right now.
Sounds fabulous.
Right? I know. But what was super fabulous was hitting that lean FI, having freedom. Financial freedom, that's the FI. So our lean financial freedom number was that number we needed to basically be retired. And so we retired at 45 years old.
That is so impressive. Great job.
Thanks.
I'd like to hear more about your mentor and these masterminds and where you found people who you could lean on, like you said, who are like-minded, and your mentor who I'm assuming taught you a lot of things that took you to where you are right now. Because I know a lot of our landlords would probably dream about having relationships like that, but it's kind of, especially in today's day and age where a lot of us are at home working from home, it's well, where do I go? All I have is my dog here.
And while your dog is great for therapy, not so much for mentoring, the advice
right,
probably no. For our mentor that we started with, that's still our mentor to this day, but in a different capacity maybe. He was somebody that we met. So we did financial coaching. We did Financial Peace University, if you're familiar with the Dave Ramsey world of things. We used to be coaches and we would teach that. And he happened to co-teach one of those with us one time. That's how we met him. Oh. And so, putting yourself out there in service opportunities opens you up to a world of people that you probably wouldn't meet otherwise. And so while we were there to serve others, we were served. And he, came into our lives. And what happened was we kind of started to get to the point where he couldn't mentor us past the level he had gotten to, right? And so I started seeking other mentorships places I could go to find people that thought like I did and, could help me go bigger. And he encouraged us in that, he's like, I want the best for you. I want you to go past what I ever thought was possible. And so I started listening to Bigger Pockets, which is a podcast. Back when Brandon Turner was the host of the Bigger Pockets podcast.
Yeah, we love Bigger Pockets.
Oh my gosh, Bigger Pockets is the best. So they started, Brandon started talking about how he was going to do the Maui Mastermind. And so the first year he did it, the first group, I was like, oh, I don't qualify. I can't do this, total imposter syndrome. And so I didn't apply. And then the second one came up. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I just don't think I can. I barely met the requirements. It was pretty stringent. Like their little like, hey, you have to have all these things. I was like, I barely have that. But my husband, I can remember sitting in bed one night. I've got the application on my phone. I filled it all up. I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I qualify. So why am I wasting my time? And he goes, would you just push the submit button already? But if I push this button, you have to know everything's going to change. Like nothing in life will be the same if I go to this. He's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Push the button. So I pushed the button. A couple days later, I got the you're in email and went, and I literally would go down and do all the masterminding all day long and go back up to my hotel room and cry. Like it was this like really intense, like part of it was this, oh my gosh, that was so stressful. They just like tore everything down and now they're building me back up, but the tear down was hard. And also this like, I found my people.
Right.
Game changer. Like I thought I was the only one out there in the world that thought this crazy way. Everybody looks at me like, you're nuts. When I talk to people at dinner parties, they're like, you're a little crazy. And I'm like, what? I think it's normal. In this like mastermind, I was normal. I was just like everybody else. And it was so freeing. And I felt such relief that I wasn't psycho,
Uh-huh.
It was nice.
I think anyone who owns any type of real estate outside of their primary residence has had people look at them. I mean, I know my husband and I, when we were moving out of our last house and we told people, we said, well, we're going to keep it and rent it out. They looked at us like, I'm sorry, you're going to do what?
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, we're going to keep it. And they're like, well, what about this, and this? And we're like, yeah, we're aware. But yeah, it's you get the looks, and it's nice to be surrounded with people who are like-minded.
I agree. It's so settling, you talk to people who speak your own language. It's like when you have toddlers, and you don't have any like adult speak all day. And then you just want somebody to come home and talk to you, and you'll stay on the phone with the customer service representative way too long, and it gets a little awkward because you're like, but I just need to hear just like an adult.
I need real words.
It felt like that, I'm not saying everybody I live with is toddlers and they can't understand what I'm talking about, but it's like speaking your native tongue to somebody.
Right.
It just feels so good. And surrounding myself with them has helped me realize that all those crazy thoughts I had in my head were just my passion coming out. And they helped me realize how to get to that level.
That's great. And I'm sure it's nice too in these masterminds, and when you're surrounded by other like-minded investors, you can freely talk about real estate as long as you want and not feel guilty. Like with friends and family, maybe it's like, okay, we're going to give you an hour and then let's move on to a new topic, So that's...
I will tell you, we were at so we meet every year. We were just there in September. And so we went on this kayak adventure, right? We go kayak and then you snorkel, you get out of your kayak and you snorkel and you see the turtles and sharks and whatever.
Lovely.
So we go with the guide and, you get to the place where you're going to go, and we line up all of our boats and we tie them all together. And some people go off and snorkel. The spouses went off and snorkel, and then we're all still sitting in the kayaks. A few of us got out so that we could like all face each other in the kayaks or just floating in the water. And the guide is all, there's a shark over there. We're like, yeah, we're good. He's all, what are you guys going to snorkel? We're like, we're good. We're just talking real estate. So, okay. So tell me now, how did you do that deal? Now, what were your terms? What were you doing over here? Like, what's your value add? Like for hours. And we had spent all day talking about it.
That's really cool.
You know, the other thing that's interesting is when you're saying this, I'm reminded about like how many different ways that real estate investing can work for someone, right? There's so many different approaches and there's so many different tactics and strategies that it's amazing when you get in front of people and even Kelly and I on this podcast, we're like, oh man, well, this person did it this way. This person did it this way. It's like, there really is no wrong way. Mm-hmm. And if you think that you're out of options, talk to more people. Mm-hmm. The other thought that you triggered for me is, and I have a very good sense that this is something that you have done with mentors, that you have worked with just based on talking with you, is anyone who's working with a mentor, offer them something back, right? Say, what can I do for you? How can I help you, right? Yeah. And then it's a two-way street. And the relationship is so incredibly valuable. And then, like you said, your mentors can roll from one to another as you grow. And you're not a burden, but you're an asset to your mentor as well, which, I mean, I can tell just by talking with you that that's something that you have been able to do.
Absolutely. I'm always looking first to provide value. You know, like yes. I'm not going and seeking a mentor going, hey, will you mentor me? What have you done and what can you give me? It is right. Like, hey, how can I serve you and, help you along in your journey? And if I learn something along the way, aces, right?
Right.
That's the approach for sure. People first, right? People first always.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to circle us back. I'm excited to talk about the syndication part because that's something we haven't really jumped into on our show yet. And I think there's a lot of like ooh and awe about syndication. Like, ooh, I want to get to the top of that mountain. It's so beautiful up there and so successful. But how do I get there? So what did that look like for you and the timing of everything to, put the contract together and, find the right property, and then what set up those terms without ever having done one. So what's the order of everything that you should do in a syndication? Like, do you find the property first or do you find the partners first? So how does it work?
So there's the way I do it now and there's the way I first did it.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one I ever did, I did everything myself. And so I went out and found the property. I contacted the broker. I Googled how do you write an LOI, which is a letter of intent. And that's what you give first in commercial real estate. So anything that's 5 units and above is commercial real estate, just to clarify. And then you need a PSA. And so I had to Google, what's a PSA? Because he said, well, will you be sending a PSA? Oh, yeah, I'll send you one of those. Google. I'm like, yeah, sure, PSA, whatever. Purchase sales agreement, right? So, and then I was like, okay, I probably should get an SEC lawyer because I did know from learning the word at the Mastermind that you need an SEC lawyer. So it's literally a Securities Exchange Commission. You are selling securities. So you need to report it to the SEC and have a lawyer that will facilitate that for you. So I contacted somebody that I met at the Mastermind who happens to be an SEC lawyer. His name is Maurizio. He's amazing. Premier Law Group. Shout out to them. Love him and his entire team. They really, Maurizio has a teacher's heart. He's one of those guys, so smart. I can't, you're not even in the same stratosphere as this guy. Nobody is, right? But he totally will take all these crazy concepts, crazy terms, everything, and break them down. And you never feel like you're being talked down to. He's just,
I love that style.
Right? Oh, it's just so good. He's a master at breaking down complicated things and making them seem like everyday speak. So I got with his law firm and retained them and said, okay, but now what do I do? And they go, well, do you have a PSA? I said, no, I don't, because now I knew what one was. And so
But I have Googled that, sir.
Yes, I Googled that. We're good. So they drafted the PSA and we sent it over to the broker, and it kind of went from there. I'll kind of detail that out in a second. But going back, here's how I do it now. I have formed kind of like I'm forming my super team. So in a syndication, you have two sides. You've got the GP, the general partners, and you've got the LPs, the limited partners. LPs are the people that bring the money. They are your investors. They technically own everything, right? So, I mean, their percentage, but they are the ones that bring the money, and they give you the money for the down payment, closing costs, construction costs if you want to do that, if you don't have a construction piece to your loan, and any CapEx projects, any of that kind of stuff that you need to do. But they're silent, basically, right? I mean, they bring the money and then they get returns, and that's that. The GP side, the general partnership, is the one running the deal. So in there, you've got your acquisitions person, somebody doing due diligence, somebody doing the capital raise, somebody doing the asset management, all of, there's all these pieces. I was wearing every single one of those hats on that first deal.
It's a lot.
It was exhausting. I didn't even know how to talk to a bank. I didn't even know when my KP, I didn't even know what a KP, there's the key principal, KP. The person who you are basically borrowing their balance sheet that says, because I don't have the credit to go buy a $5 million building. I don't have the income to go buy a $5 million building. I needed somebody who had liquidity and somebody who could loan me their balance sheet, basically. And that's what.
Is that how much it was? Your apartment complex, was it $5 million?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So the capital raise was about 1.5. We did not have a construction piece because we were doing this agency debt, and they didn't offer that in this loan program. So we were raising the capital expenditures, the CapEx, along with the down payment and all of that. So somebody brings the earnest money also. So KP, EMD are both the same person in my deals. But, when he said, I want agency debt, Google to the rescue, right? I was like, oh, yeah, I can do agency debt, and I looked it up and figured out what that was and what it entailed and what that meant. And basically, you're getting a more direct line to federal funds, right? So you're not like, it's not like the feds are selling it to a bank who's selling it to you. It's kind of like they're the broker for this federal money. So they can give you better terms, better. So like we got a 30-year amortization schedule, a year interest only. What were the other terms? Really good terms. I think 3.6 is where we closed at. That was in March of this year. I think that's all correct. And I forget what the fourth one is now, but I'll come up with it. But agency debt is usually a lot better terms, but it's a lot of hoops to jump through, much more than traditional funding, which is fine. But anyway, I wore all those hats, and now I'm looking to build a super team of GP people. Somebody else who can do the due diligence, somebody else who can work with the bank. I go find the deal and I put it all together, but somebody who can do that other. I opened an asset management company because I couldn't find a good asset manager. So I started a property management company because I couldn't find a good property manager. This is how we do, right? Us entrepreneurs.
Everything you're saying to me, I come from a history in private commercial real estate investing, and it's yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's true. So
it's, you as you grow, you start specializing and getting those people to fill those slots.
It's so much easier. Oh my gosh. The experience since then in my syndications has been night and day. And I'm, able to get rest and do other things in life instead of just eating, sleeping, breathing this one project. And also, I'm turning it over to people who whatever part they're taking over feels very light to them, right? And the parts that I'm doing feel really light. And so, everybody stays in their lane and they can focus on it, and they're going to be 10 times better at it than I ever was, or I could ever hope to be. You can't be the best at everything. Mm-hmm. So I'm really good at going and putting the deals together, and I'm really good at doing the asset management. So I'd love for somebody else to just fill in all the rest, right?
Nice.
So you build your GP team. That's what I would do if I was giving advice. I would build out this GP team. Then I would start, whoever's in charge of finding the deals, start finding brokers to leverage those relationships. Because what happened was that first one that I bought, again, I called the broker and, got the deal done. He called me a month later and went, hey, are you ready for another one? I've got this other one. It's off market. This is the deal, blah, blah, blah. So went after that one. And then the guy who didn't get to fund it came to me and said, hey, I know I couldn't do the funding on this one. I totally get why you needed the points and agency debt. I couldn't match it. But I've got this one coming down the line. This guy's ready to refi, and we'd love to keep the business. Do you want to take it on? So these relationships are hugely important in this space. Commercial real estate still kind of functions a lot like, old school business used to run. It's a very tight group. It's usually, you usually start seeing the same people over and over and over again. And so keeping those relationships, and I just felt like it was really important for me to take the reputation I had built in fix and flip and in my small buy and hold, which was I close when I say I'm going to close. I don't retrade a whole bunch. That's not my MO. I'm going to underwrite so that I know the deal will work. I'm easy to work with, and I'm super responsive. So I wanted to carry that over into larger commercial real estate, and it has worked really well for me. And so you keep those relationships. You don't want to burn those bridges because, like I said, it's a very small community.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Absolutely.
Great. So we've covered the how to set up the contract and find the properties. So how did you find the limited partners to go into business with you?
So there's two types. Yeah, there's two types of syndications. One is a 506B and one is a 506C. The 506B is, I call it the buddy round, just so I can remember, But these, you have to have a substantive relationship with the people prior to signing the PSA. So these are people that you know. It's a friends and family round is kind of another way to think of it.
Right.
But that's not alliteration, right? So we need this to be a buddy round. But you're not allowed to advertise, and you are limited to the number of LPs you're allowed to have. So there's a few restrictions here. You can do a C round, which means that you can go wide, like I call it the community round, right? You can go out into the community. You can put it on social media. Like on the B round, I cannot even talk about what I'm doing on social media. If I post like, oh, hey, we're walking through, I have violated SEC laws and I will go to jail. Okay, I'm not going to go to jail, but like it's pretty serious. They can shut you down and do all kinds of crazy things. But on a C round, you can go out and advertise, and you can have unlimited number of LPs, but they all have to be accredited, which means that they either have a net worth of $1 million, not including their primary residence, or they have an income of $200,000 for single and $300 for married, and they for the last 3 years, and there is proof that will continue. So over here,
there's like forms they have to fill out to have that. It's a very formal process.
Yes, you have to certify that they are actually accredited. They can't go, oh, that's me. No. You have to prove that. So on a B round, they don't have to be accredited. On a C round, they do. On a B round, you cannot advertise or even talk about it outside of your circles, face-to-face kind of stuff.
Wow.
C round, you can.
I feel like it's jury duty or something.
Yeah. You have to really make a strategic plan which way you want to go. But there's a secret option 3, which is if you got all of your B round people in and all their funds have actually entered the account, you can actually switch to a C round. As long as you tell your B round, you have to disclose everything and all the terms have to be the same. But you can close your B round and convert it to a C round as long as all your B round people are already in. So there's a lot.
So how did you find those C round people? Because like you said, those people are ones that you do not previously know. You do not have a relationship with.
Right. So I used my B round people. Hey, do you guys know anybody, that would be interested in it? And just kind of like let the ripple effect happen. Mm-hmm. And I would talk about it any place I went, any real estate meetups I was at, anybody I will tell people at the grocery store. First of all, I was just practicing my elevator pitch, right? But, you find those C-round people just by being in circles with other real estate people or high wage earners, high wage, and high net worth W-2 people. Talked about it in my Bible studies. I talked about it in my everything. Just because I'm passionate about it, it just kind of flows out of me all the time anyway. It's something I'm super excited about. So it naturally comes up in conversation at every conversation.
That's great. I think the last question for me about syndications is, there's a lot of places to invest your money. So why would someone choose to be a limited partner in a syndication versus choosing to invest their money elsewhere or just use that money to buy their own property?
Yeah, it is completely passive. So, for people looking for completely passive income, it is a fantastic vehicle for investment. And, it's secured by something. There's a tangible asset there, right? So that provides a level of security there.
How do limited partners get paid out in your syndication?
Yeah, so typically we do what's called a pref, which is a preferred return. So it's usually 8.5% of a preferred return that is paid quarterly to them. And then they also share on the upside. So in our deals, and all of them are done differently, but in our deals, typically the LPs own 70% of the deal and the GPs own 30%. So when we sell the property, say we sell the property and we make a profit of $1 million, that $1 million gets split. So $700,000 flows down into the LPs. That's their upside. So they're getting 8.5% no matter what, but then they also get to share on the upside. So their IRR, their internal rate of return, winds up being somewhere around 22%. And so that's just a great, that's a great investment. If you can put your money somewhere and, over the course of 3 to 5 years have had an internal rate of return of 22%, that's a pretty good return on your funds. And you've done nothing but write a check,
I might have somebody I'm sending your way that could be a limited partner in the future.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to them. Send them my way.
So Kelly, I think we can transition into landlord logistics now. And the first question I think that we can go into is tell us about your team. Tell us about who is on your team to make sure these properties run well day in and day out.
Yeah, so I have a woman named April who is my number 2. I just can't even give her a title because, she does everything. She's incredible. She's my integrator. She's my property manager. She's my, hey, I'm looking at dogs. Do you think this one's cute? She's my everything, right? She started as my executive assistant and has moved up in the ranks just because she's so stellar. So she kind of sits right underneath me. And then underneath her, I hired an assistant property manager, Danelle, who is on site at our properties several days a week. And she does a lot of the tenant communication and all of that. We use Buildium to run our properties. And so they both work in Buildium very heavily. I group everything in 50 units for maintenance people. So I've got Robert, who is our on-site maintenance manager at one of our properties. And then I've got Scott, who does like all of our single family 12 unit, all those other ones. And then there'll be Kurt at, another, so it's like every 50 units gets a guy, who's going to be the on-site like maintenance guy. And then I have Olivia, who is our bookkeeper and accountant who does all the expense side. And then I have another person who works part-time, but nobody knows he works for me, so I'm not going to say his name. And he does our income side, so that I've kind of got 2 people working on the books with me, so that there's like 2 sets of eyes there. I just think it's always important to have 2 people on the finance piece for accountability. And then if that was 8 people, that's all the people. I have
your customer service role.
Oh, customer service is so Wendy. So Wendy, we just brought on, and she is bilingual and is a linguist actually by trade. And we needed to kind of fill that hole in our customer service piece, because on our asset management side, one of the properties that we work with has a large native Spanish speaking population, and I didn't feel like they were being served well. And we needed some more customer service and admin help. And so Wendy filled that slot perfectly for us.
Awesome. And did we cover quality control?
Oh, gosh, yes. This is so good. So I feel so bad now because I talked about Sharon's husband, Scott, and then didn't even talk about Sharon. So for my midterm rentals, this was a piece that I layered on that I thought was really important to have consistency in my midterm rentals, because I do have 20 of them in my portfolio. We just set 3 up this week. So, we're growing that piece. But I put somebody in place, Sharon, who is, I call her my QC, my MTR QC person. And what her role is to coordinate with the cleaners, make sure that everything is good there. She will go QC their clean, but also I want everybody to be in their lane and be able to specialize in what they do. Cleaners go in and make it clean and sanitized and everything's good, right? I don't want them to worry about resetting the MTR. In STR, people come in for the weekend, they might put a plant on a different table, no big deal. MTR people come in, they're living there for 13 weeks, right? And so you find all of your knickknacks in the shelf in the second bedroom because their cat wanted to play with it all. I don't know.
Very true.
It's so true. So Sharon's job is to go in and make sure that all of that is back, and so that when somebody walks in the first time, it looks exactly like it did in the picture, and it's totally reset. And the pizza cutter's not missing out of the drawer.
I learned that one the hard way through many, many trial and errors. And I think you can always still improve on your process. But originally, I didn't have any inventory sheet. And I just kind of, if something was lost, it's okay. It's just stuff. It doesn't go with you to heaven. It's just stuff.
Right.
And then more recently, I started doing different styles. I like the idea of taking the pictures of everything. But then, if something goes missing and you don't have that same or like, let's say a bedspread gets ruined or something like that, well, then your picture doesn't match anymore, and you got to take that time to go print off a new picture and bring it back before the next guest move in. And so that didn't seem very hands off either. So then this last round, and I'm excited to see how it plays out, I started doing labeling the shelves, mainly the kitchen, to kind of show, hey, here's what all is in the home and here's where it goes. So that when they check out, if they didn't like the spot where I had it, they're like, oh yeah, it was here because I have the label. And then all of like the ice cream scoop, the wine key, everything, is labeled so that they know where it goes. And then same thing with like the linen closet, where they know how many sets of each round of sheets, and really so I know as well, because I always forget how many I have at each and it changes. And so I labeled those like stain free, bleach free, to kind of have just that accountability of, hey, if something gets stained or bleached, maybe they replace it, or we can potentially just take it out of their deposit if we need to. But that one quality control is so important.
So important. Yeah. And we use smart sheets. And so she uses a smart sheet, and we have, first, second, third choices. And there's the hyperlinks in there to all the items, so that if she does have to go replace those sheets and she's like, oh, that one's not on the shelf anymore, she's got backups,
Nice. Where do y'all store your backups?
We at the Pineapple, which is a warehouse. We have an extra, I used to have a staging company, and it was house to home staging. And I had the pineapple like in my logo because that's the international sign for hospitality. And so anyway, we started storing stuff at this extra building I have at one of our properties, and it became known as the Pineapple for unknown reasons. I don't even know how. I think because my husband. Well, yeah, but I think it's more like my husband's name is Bob, and SpongeBob SquarePants lives in a pineapple. It's like a lot of things all together, and so we store all of our extras there, and it's because it's centrally located so that, QC can go and pull what they need and go take it to the units.
Cool.
So why don't you take a second, share some tips with anyone listening that's looking to maybe grow a team or like add maybe their first person to help them out, or maybe their 8th person to help them out. How have you found that looking for people works best, and pay structure, and give us kind of your take on all that.
Yeah, I think that you should hire for how do I say it? Personality. I think you should hire for who the person is, not what they can do. I can teach anybody how to QC. I can teach anybody how to run a spreadsheet or balance, QuickBooks, whatever. But I can't teach them integrity or passion. I can't teach them, that like indescribable thing that some people have, where you just know that they're like a doer, or depending on what the role is that you're trying to fill, but they just have that thing where everybody that talks to them loves them, and the way they do one thing is the way they do everything. I would hire people based on that more than I would hire based on a skill set. Now, if you're going to hire an accountant, probably good that they have a bookkeeping or accounting background. I will give you that, But like for some of these other like more admin roles or QC roles or whatever, I really would focus on that first. We've used Indeed with great success when we were hiring, and I put people through a gauntlet. And so, I'm not going to say what my gauntlet is, but, create things in your hiring process that automate it. I do know, I was just speaking to somebody else about this, and he said he was hiring technical people. He worked for like a data analytics company or something, and he was hiring technical people as a very detail-oriented position. So he would put somewhere in that, in the application process, that respond to this email and put the word, pineapple or what a funky word in the subject line. So he could sort out of his email any that had the word pineapple in it. He would move forward with them. He didn't even have to look at the other ones. So form some sort of gauntlet that automates the process for you and helps people self-select out of your corporate, whatever your structure is first, before you don't look at every single resume you get, right? You don't need to. So that's one thing. So I think you had one other question. You said
pay structure.
Yeah, pay structure. Thank you. So for the QC thing, we pay per one that she does, so there, and I don't know the exact amount. I wish I did, but I didn't. April coordinated that for me. I think I gave her a budget of like $450 a month or something. So however that parses out for her for that pay structure. For our maintenance guys, we pay them $50,000 a year. So it's just like written into that underwriting on my syndication. I always write in an admin person, and I always write in a maintenance person on those, 50 plus unit ones, so that I always get 2 staff members paid for by that syndication. So, and my admins, it's like 40 to 50, depending on their skill level. So I always write those are always about $100,000-ish in each syndication for payroll. So I can go hire people.
How does that work if you are, for, of course, America, we like bonus structures or, increasing your salary based off how, how you're performing, annual reviews, that kind of stuff. How does that work in for the syndication process?
So they're an employee like every other, so they get, structured pay raises. And so when you're underwriting, you are underwriting that expenses go up a certain amount each year. So we've already accounted for pay raises. We do lots of bonuses, and we do lots of fun ways and things to get bonuses. And we don't always, it's not always money though, especially syndications. Things are written a certain way, and I have budgets I have to stick to because I've got, people to report to. My personal portfolio, I'm like, I'll spend some of this extra profit on, bonuses and things like that. But we'll do, we do a 60-day review, a 90-day review, 6 month, and then 1 year. And then every 6 months after that, we sit down with them. And so there's opportunity there for them to, talk to us about other seats they'd like to sit in, or other challenges they'd like to take on, or things that feel very heavy to them. And so we can kind of like work all that out, and then that sometimes will adjust the pay structure. But we have a prize wheel. We literally have this giant prize wheel that I can write on this Sharpie marker, like neon Sharpie marker. And like at our Christmas party, we have all kinds of prizes on there. And a lot of it's like PTO and like, a free stay in one of our STRs or MTRs or whatever. Cause like we have properties in Florida. Who doesn't want to be in Naples, Florida, right? So like stuff like that. And our team works all over. April's in Tennessee. She's not even in Ohio. Like they don't have to be there. Our bookkeeper's in Phoenix, so anyway, so non-monetary, bonuses and we like to reward people. Like if somebody just does a stellar job, I'll be like, here's $200, take your spouse out, whether that's one super fancy dinner or breakfast every day for the next week. I don't care, but like do something rad with your spouse because you had to do this thing that took you away from your family for however long. So it's not always about money, and we do give equity too. If people are rising up through the ranks and they're just rock stars and they are why we are growing, I absolutely will give them equity in our companies or properties or whatever it works out to be.
So tell us a little bit more about the nonprofit side, the philanthropic arm that you're looking like that, your goal for that, because I think you mentioned it and it just sounds so great and so ambitious. I'd love to hear about it.
So the whole thing is like, I want a fat FI, right? I mean, like I want to build generational wealth is really what I want to do and provide that for my family. That is one thing. But that doesn't mean that I can't build an empire that serves others in a crazy, radical way. And so what I realized was, God gifted me with this ability in real estate, so I should use real estate to serve his purposes. And so I was like, okay, syndicating is like creating money out of thin air, right? So you syndicate, and at some point, you've got a 3 to 5 year exit strategy. And so those LPs go away. You can sell the property to do that, or you could refinance it, like BRRRR it, a big fat BRRRR, and get your LPs out. And then you've got a property that is generating hundreds of thousands of dollars a year that just funds into a nonprofit. So that is my goal, is to fund with all these syndications, because I already hit my lean FI. I'm good. Even my fat FI, I'm pretty close to. I live a pretty lean life. Like, it's not, I don't need much, right? I need experiences and I need people. I don't need a lot of things. I'm not looking to be Grant Cardone and go get my own plane. Unless having a plane serves God's purposes, but I haven't gotten that, said to me or anything. But I want to use real estate to do like crazy, crazy, crazy things and never, ever have to say no when somebody comes to us with a need or how they could be boots on the ground. My husband and I, through the years, have been boots on the ground. We've done church plants. We've done, we did foster care. We did, like going on mission trips and going with youth on mission trips and all the things, right? We've been boots on the ground. But we decided that's not our highest and best use. Our highest and best use is to fund the people who want to be boots on the ground. And that's going to make me cry too.
Aww.
You ask me all these questions, and they're making me all something I'm super passionate about. Sorry.
No, I love that.
No, it's good. I mean, I think it's just your emotion is a reflection of when you put hard work and you put strategy and you put hours and hours and years of dedication and learning and never giving up and pivoting when you need to pivot, that the results really can be life-changing.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's something that you can do on a very, very grand scale, or you can do on a little scale, and either way it can still have such a big impact.
Yeah.
And I think it's great to see, honestly, because you are clearly a very, very smart person.
Mm-hmm.
Like and strategic, and I think it's clear as day to Kelly and I that like you're very genuine, and that you have earned your place in real estate. Like it was not, you have earned it. And to see the type of character in a person like you that has worked so hard to give to a certain point and then looks back in the mirror and says, how can I use this to give back? Like, come on. The world needs more of you.
Thank you.
So I think that in itself is inspiring, and I can't even imagine what you're going to do philanthropically. Like it's bound to be monumentous. So.
Well, thanks. Sorry, they decided to blow the leaves right outside my window.
It's okay.
I can't even really hear them.
Oh, really? Oh, that's good. Yeah. I like all this guy. That's why I kind of looked shocked, because all of a sudden this guy with an orange vest. Like,
yeah, no problem. We're real people, so we don't mind extra noises.
It's why my handle, I used to, my social media used to just be a very Richey life, and it was just for my family, and like, we post our vacation pictures. And when I was transferring into this, new mindset and wanting to do something big and build this empire that had purpose, I was like, you know what it is? It's these are my passion projects. I don't have to do any of this. And everyone says, well, you worked really hard to retire just so you could work 10 times harder. And I'm like, this doesn't feel like work. This is fun. This is my passion project. That's why I'm Tammy at Investing with Passion, because I'm so, so passionate about what it is I want to create and build. And I don't feel like it's my idea. I'm just the conduit, right? And so if I can break other people out and have them take the red pill, like, if anybody's a Matrix fan, because I'm like, bust out of your everyday, do something extraordinary, follow your passion, and the sky's the limit. You will bring people, you will attract people to you who want to work with you, who want to build that empire with you, who want to catch that vision. Everybody wants to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And that is what drives me to grow this empire bigger and bigger and better, and serve the people that the empire is meant to serve.
I love it so much. I want to we're moving forward to what we call Furnish Finder favorites. And I really only have one question for this section, which is, you noted that your cash flow significantly increased when you joined Furnish Finder and started your midterm journey. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can give you a super good example. Great. My very first duplex that I converted to a midterm rental is an up and down duplex in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, which nobody's ever heard of, right?
Not heard of it ever.
It was near a hospital. It was within 20 minutes of a major hospital, and it had 2 surgical centers near it. And I thought, I hear a lot about traveling nurses, which I now call traveling medical professionals, because I have found so many other aspects, not just nurses, travel around for medical professional reasons. Anyway, I had it rented, the up and down, 2-bed, 1-bath, each of them, detached garage that they share, laundry in the basement, that's split out, whatever. And they're nothing spectacular, but they at the time, market rent was $750, and they were rented at market rent. But both of the tenants moved out because, they both bought houses. But anyway, one got married and bought a house, and the other one just bought a house because of rates, right? And I went, I should try out this MTR thing. So of course, Furnish Finder came to mind. It's the place to go for furnished rentals, in my opinion, for traveling professionals, corporate housing, all that. So I go and I list, and I'm like, well, we'll just see what this does. It wasn't even a great listing. I mean, I took the pictures on my phone. I did all the wrong things, right? But $750 each unit. I rented them within 2 days, both to travel nurses on 13-week contracts for $1,800 each.
And what would you have gotten long term?
$750.
Oh, whoops! You said that, didn't you?
It's okay, because it's like so crazy, right? $750 to $1,800. Now, I do have to pay utilities, right, for my nurses, but that's about $200, $225 a month. So the delta there is magnificent. And which is why now I have 20, soon to be 23 of these.
That's amazing.
Now, let me ask you this question, because I feel like a lot of our tenants struggle with pricing. How did you come up with the pricing of $1,800? Because for a long-term rental or a traditional rental, there's a lot of sources for market rent that you can look at, right?
Yeah.
You can look at Zillow. You can look at
Rent
you can look all over. For
all the places.
For midterms, it's a little bit trickier to find comps. How did you decide, okay, we're going to go with 1,800?
So I use what's called the enemy method. And I did not coin that. Are you familiar with the short-term shop, Avery Carlson?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So her husband, I forget his name. Is it Luke? I'm not remembering what his name is right now. But anyway, he has a YouTube video on the enemy method. It's super, super great. He does it for STRs, which is different. But I watched it and went, well, why can't I apply that to MTRs? So I looked on Airbnb for 30-day plus stays and used his method. And then I went, well, that's silly. I could do that on Furnish Finder too, right? Because that's my competition. That's my enemy, if you will. So I looked at Furnish Finder and went and found, people in their calendars and kind of looked through like, okay, who's booked out, that sweet spot amount, which for me is like 16, 18 weeks, right? And whereas on an STR, it's more like 6 weeks is that sweet spot.
Right.
And what are they charging? Whose units look like mine? Who has, good reviews? Who's got a lot of reviews, that kind of thing. And then modeled it after them. It's the whole, what is it that imitation is the greatest flattery or whatever, like that thing.
Right. Yeah.
Hey man, you're killing this. I want what you've got. And so I priced it that way.
Yeah. Love it.
That's awesome. And just a reminder, www.furnishedfinder.com/stats if you want to see the pie chart of what is renting in your area, how many entire units, how many rooms are for rent, and what prices those are renting for on average. That's where you go. And also a great time to add in, let's celebrate this. Like Furnish Finder landlords together, we're growing thanks to our management team and really focusing on SEO and having us in the right place on a Google search result, where it's not just attracting medical professionals, it's attracting all sorts of traveling professionals. And so we have over 120,000 properties on Furnish Finder now. And I think it was around 2 million visits monthly.
It's nuts. Yeah. The numbers are going up so quickly, I cannot keep track of them. And by the time this airs, we record these a few weeks in advance. By the time this airs, the numbers will be even higher. They're insane because life is shifting, right? And you not only have traveling medical professionals, you have digital nomads. You have people like, post-pandemic, my husband and I both work from home. So in theory, we could go anywhere. Kelly, you're the case in point, right? Kelly's packing up her house and going on an adventure. Like, it's not crazy anymore. So it's people are figuring it out, just like you, Tammy. And I think it's definitely something where it's not so much of a pivot that it's hard to try, right? And just kind of see how it works for your property or your market. Yeah, we love hearing the success stories.
I will say I give that link to the pie charts to people. I'm not exaggerating, probably 10 times a week. Oh, you should look this. Oh, this is what it's doing in your market. Here, I send that link to.
I love having good data, man. It's so good.
It's
so good.
I love. I'm like, look how many hits there have been in just this area, And yeah, the fact that it'll tell you even in your market, like, Akron is number 2 in the state of Ohio for midterm rentals or whatever. Valuable information. I absolutely love it.
I was looking up a market the other day and there was something like 41,000 searches and 3 properties.
Bye.
And I'm like,
yeah, right? And the other thing is, if you want to try out a market, something that we did in an area we weren't familiar, or like we weren't sure if it was saturated, because whatever. I went to court, you know, where you can rent furniture,
Uh-huh.
you know, you just arbitrage it. Go and rent your furniture. There's basically like no commitment at that point. You've got an LTR that you want to try out, rent some furniture for 3 months and see how it works. List it on Furnish Finder. There's
Great
like,
idea.
It's an easy way to try it. You don't have to go spend $4,000 to furnish your unit and then go, oh no, what do I do with the furniture if I decide this isn't for me? Arbitrage.
Yep.
Yeah.
Test it.
Well, ladies, it has been so much fun. I hate to cut us to the ending point, but we're already over an hour, and so let's go ahead and wrap this up and say thank you so much, Tammy. So much knowledgeable information. You have this joy about you and this knowledge that's contagious. So I know your episode is going to have so many views, and be ready for lots of questions, I'm sure.
We'll be there to answer it. I love talking about all this stuff. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been really great.
Thank you so much.
Don't forget to subscribe. Have a good day. Bye, everybody.